Hello students, I am very happy to welcome my channel Smart Class CS. Myself P. Murugan, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, Government Arts and Science College, VALPARAI. Today we are going to discuss about the subject RDBMS and Oracle for the students who are pursuing UG Computer Science in Bardiyar University. This subject containing 5 units. Now we are discussing the unit 1 in this video. The unit 1 contains the following topics: database concepts, database, relationships, DBMS, relational data model, integrity rules, and theoretical relational languages, and also database design concepts. Now we are going to discuss one by one. First concept, database. What is database? A database is nothing but it is an electronic store of data. If you want to store anything in electronic format, that format is called as database. The data is also called as the electronic data. It is a repository that stores information about different things and also contains relationship among those different things. In database concepts, some of the basic terms used to describe the structure of a database. The terms are entity, data, attributes, entity set, database, relationships. Now we discuss one by one. First one, entity. A entity is a person, place, event or item is called an entity in database. Then second concept, data. The data is describing an entity. That fact is called as data. For example, a register in a college contains information about students. So the information is called a data. That register holding the information about the students, each student is an entity in a particular data. Okay, next concept, attribute. Each entity can be described by its characteristics, which are known as attributes, which means that an entity having different characteristics, each and every characteristic is called as an attribute. For example, in a college, a student is an entity. The student having lot of attributes like student identification number, last name, first name, phone number, social security number, gender, birth date, and so on. These are all called as a attribute for particular student entity. Next one, entity set. All the related entities are collected together to form an entity set. A entity set is given a singular name. For example, student entity sets contain data about students only, and also a related entities in the student entity set are students. Next one, database. Database is a collection of entity set. Before we discuss about what is data, what is entity, what is entity set, these three things are following to form a database, which means that entity set, we form an entity set. We know that data, what is entity, that only to form an entity set. The collection of entities sets are called as a database. For example, in a college database may contain lot of entities, such as a college containing a student is an entity, faculty course is an entity, time, course section, building, registration information. These all entities are collected to form a database is a college. So database name is a college. Next, relationships. One of the important database concept is relationship, because you want to communicate with one entity to another entity. The relationship concept is embedded. First one, The entity in a database are likely to interact with other entities. The interaction between the entity sets are called relationship. One entity set is interacting with another entity set is called as a relationship. The informations are described using active verbs. You use the active verbs to describing the information in relationship. For example, student is an entity set and course section is in another entity set. These two are interacting with each other. And also teacher is an entity set, building is one of the entity set. The two entity sets are interacting with each other. Next, we discuss about the relationships. The relationships are classified into three categories. First one-to-one relationship. Second one-to-many relationship. Third one, many-to-many relationship. Next slide, we are going to discuss one by one. First one-to-one relationship. A one-to-one relationship is also written as 1:1 in short form. Consider the two entity sets X and Y. If an entity set X has only one matching entity in entity set Y and vice versa. For example, the following figure shows two tables, students and contact information. Both tables have student ID is an entity. The department in a college, one chairperson in a particular department communicating with on the department, and also an employee manages one department in a company. This concept is elaborately explained. Next, one-to-many relationship. A one-to-many relationship is written as 1:m, which means that now we consider two entity sets X and Y. If an entity in entity set X has many matching entities in entity set Y, but an entity in entity set Y has only one matching entity in entity set. For example, a faculty teaches one division in a college, but a division has many faculty members. The relationship between division and family is 1:m. The relationship between department employee is 1:m. This is shown in the following figure. Next slide, many-to-many relationship. A many-to-many relationship is written as m:n or m:m. It exists between two entity sets X and Y. If an entity in entity set X has many matching entity in entity set Y, and an entity in entity set Y has many matching entities in entity set X. For example, a student takes many courses and many students take a course, and also an employee works on many projects and the project has many employees. This concept is shown in the below figure. The figure having different keys. First figure using primary key, second one using foreign key, third one is primary key. The keys are explained in end of the chapter. Next concept, database management system. A database management system consists of the following components. A database management system, in short form DBMS, it contains a software package such as Microsoft Access, Visual Fox Pro, Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle, and also a user developed and manipulated database or databases that includes tables, a data dictionary and other database objects, and custom applications such as data entry forms, reports, queries, blocks and programs. Another component, computer hardware, software, personal database administrators, database designer, analyst and programmer and end users. A database system having the following architecture. That architecture include users, applications, DBMS, database, operating system software, and hardware. These components are used to form an architecture of a database system. And also data are the raw materials. Information is processed, manipulated, collected, or organized a data. Next concept, the relational database model. A relational database model is developed by EF Code in 1970. This model is based on mathematical set theory and uses a relational as a basic building block of the database. The relation is represented by a two-dimensional flat structure known as a table. The database system that manages a relational database environment is known as a relational database management system. That means RDBMS. Some of the popular database management systems are Oracle 9i by Oracle Corporation, Microsoft Access 2000, and Microsoft Visual Fox Pro 6.0. Next, what is table? A table is a matrix of rows and columns in which each row represents an entity and each column represents an attribute. In a table, a row is represented as an entity, a column is represented as an attribute. In other words, a table represents an entity set as per database theory, and it represents a relation as per relational database theory. The following 6 relational tables used to represent the relational database management system concept. The table names are PROJ 2002, PROJ 2003, PRJ pods, department and employee. These tables are used to represent and perform the relational database management concepts. The tables having different entities and different attributes. For example, PROJ 2002 has 3 columns and 5 entities. PROJ 2003 contains 3 columns and 4 entities, and PRJ pods have 3 columns and 5 entities. In relational database management systems, some of the terminologies are used in EF code. The terminologies are, first one, tuple. A tuple is nothing but a row is also referred to as a tuple. In a relational database management system, a row is called as a tuple. Second one, degree. Each column in a relation or a table correspond to a column of the relation, and each row correspond to an entity. The number of columns in a table called the degree of the relationship. In a table, you insert different values like different rows. The collection of rows or the number of rows is called as the degree of the relation. For example, if a table has 4 columns, then the table is of degree 4. Next one, domain. The set of all possible values that a column may have is called the domain of that column. In a table, the top row or first row representing the domain of the particular table. Two domains are same only if they have same meaning and use. For example, PROJ number, part number, dip number, and emp number are columns with numeric values, but their domains are different. Terms like tuple and degree are used here because they are relational database terms. But in reality, these terms are not used in workplace. Next, the following figure shows a simple comparison between terminology used in relational database and file systems. First column represents relational terminology. Second column of the table represents file system terminology. In relational terminology, entity set or table or relations, we are called entity set or table or relationship as a name. In file system, we call this a file. Then in relational terminology, entity or row or table is common. In file system terminology, we call it a record. And also attribute or column is used in relational terminology. In file system terminology, we call this a field. Next, we go to discuss the concept, main important concept in relational database management system is key. A key is a minimal set of columns used to unique define any row in a table. If a single column can be used to describe each row, there is no need to use two columns as a key. For example, a key is a minimal set of columns. It is a unique value. The keys are different keys are used in database management system. The keys are primary key, composite key, secondary key, surrogate key, foreign key. We discuss one by one. First one, primary key. When a single column is used as a unique identifier, it is known as a primary key. In a particular table, having only one column is a primary key, one column is set to a key, that key is called as a primary key, is a unique value. Second one, composite primary key or composite key. When a combination of columns is used as a unique identifier, it is known as a composite primary key or simply as a composite key. Consider a table. You want to set two columns as a key. The two columns are called as a composite key. Okay. Next one, secondary key. Sometimes a more human approach is used to identify or retrieve a row from a table because it is not possible to remember primary key. So you want to set a second column as a key. That key is called as a secondary key. For example, a vendor's name, an employee's last name, a book's title, or an author's name can be used as a data retrieval. Such a key is known as a secondary key. A single table, if you want to forget or if you want to create a extra key, is called as a secondary key. Next one, surrogate key. If none of the columns in a candidate for the primary key in a table, sometimes database designers use an extra column as a primary key instead of using a composite key. Such a key is known as surrogate key. Then last one, foreign key. One of the important key concept in database management system, because you want to interact with one entity to another entity, one table to another table. So you want to know the concept of the foreign key is an important thing. In a foreign key, a column in a table that references a column in another table, it is known as a foreign key. For example, part number column in PRJ parts is a foreign key column. This references to part number column in parts. Already we know the 6 tables in the previous slides. The 6 tables, the PRJ parts table and parts table, having the part number is a reference key to one another. Next one, the following table shows the notation used for tables in a relational database. In the example, the table shows notation used for tables. The table name is followed by a list of columns with parentheses. The primary key or composite primary key columns are underlined. In Oracle uses keywords primary key to define a primary key composite, or surrogate key. Then last one, integrity rules. In any database management system, it is very important that the data is underlying tables be consistent. A database field is to formulate two integrity rules. First one, entity integrity. Second one, referential integrity. Entity integrity, this means that no column in a primary key may be null. You set one of the column as a primary key, that column should be a value. You not create a null value column, null value field. The primary key provides the means of unique identifying a row or an entity. A zero or space is not considered to be a null value. If you want to input in a particular column, zero or space is also a not a null value entity. If the primary key values in a null value in a row, we do not have enough information about the row to uniquely identify. Then second integrity is referential integrity. A foreign key value may be a null value, or it must exist as a value of a primary key in the referential table. Note that it is not a good practice to use null values in any non-primary key columns, because this results in extra overhead on the system's part in such operations. Okay students, I complete this session. Only I handled first part of the unit 1. The remaining parts are in my next video. Thank you for participating my class. Bye to all.